Spanner in the works. Back to the works. Them man are like you're too much on the track. Them flows are bloody berserk. Spanner in the works. Go hard till it hurts. How many man do you know who can drop 1 million flows on a verse?
Yeah, we ain't got a sponsor this week, but I am going to give someone a shout out. Number 29 Bar and Restaurant. So last night I did a wedding in a place called Burnham Market, just near Norfolk Coast. Beautiful little picturesque town, yeah? Most classiest affair I've ever done. And they were great. So big up all the guys down there, and big shout out to the guys at the wedding. So anyway, what are we saying? What's been going on? How you been?
All good, brother. Excited. Season 2's back. People have been asking, what's going with your podcast? See, I knew you man was going to fall out. I knew you man going to fall out.
Oi, did you see when I put the April Fool's thing up?
That's what I'm saying.
Man melted, isn't
that
it?
Even that was the icing on the cake. So people have already convinced themselves that our podcast was done.
Well, taking the shades off because it feels weird with them on the side. But no, we're here, we're back. And listen, let me just give you guys so if you're new to this and you've never seen Spanner in the Works, which is highly likely because just to give you some numbers, we finished season 1. I think we finished at nearly 50,000 views. Okay. 2,500 watch hours, 1,600 subscribers, which doesn't sound huge, but what I want to kind of contextualize in that is we did that from nothing. We didn't buy any views. We didn't even use a social media promote or anything. We did everything word of mouth, WhatsApp broadcast messages, and just sheer, I guess, force of will, man. So thank you to everybody that supported us. This voice thing is going to be a major thing this episode. Big up everyone who supported us through that journey. I mean, there's too many names to mention, and we probably mentioned them a million times.
Big up all our sponsors as well from the previous episodes.
Yeah, big up everybody. And on the sponsorship one, look, we'll get there. If you want to sponsor us, reach out to us.
We was actually supposed to have one today. I spoke to him last night, but things didn't obviously...
The thing of it is this, right?
Transpire, so...
And I think this leads in nicely.
Next time we'll get it sorted.
I love a good segue, right? But this leads in nicely to what we're going to start off by kind of talking out. But before we do, let me just give you guys an idea of what to expect from season 2. So... You know the guests we've got lined up, yeah?
Yeah.
Obviously, we can't say nothing.
For episode number 2.
Yeah. You know who we got for free?
Yeah, I know who we got for free.
You know who we got for 4?
Yes, I know who we got for 4. I don't know that after that.
No, you do. There's one more you do know.
Okay.
Yeah, but we can't say. We're not talking, and I don't mean no disrespect by this, someone who was around a long time ago who's got a bit of legacy, yeah, who's a name. And we're talking people who are contemporary, current, doing their thing right now.
Smashing it as well.
Smashing it.
We're talking funny.
Yeah.
We're talking
energetic.
We're talking DJs.
Yeah.
We're talking rappers. We're talking a whole world.
People who are active as well, which I think is really... And I think the other thing as well, remember when we first started this and we spoke about me being anti-Bedford? Boring. But there is that kind of Bedford link that runs through it. So that's what you could expect. What do we expect from them? Just support us. If you see it, share it. If you hate us, I beg you jump in the comments and tell us, please. We love that. I'm all for it. And I'm getting schooled in it. And I keep looking down the camera because I want you to look in my eyes and understand. So that's kind of what you can what they can expect from season 2. What was your highlight of season 1?
They've all had highlights.
Yeah, but what was the one moment from season 1 that stood out for you the most?
Blaze.
Really?
Yeah.
For real?
Yeah, Blaze stood out to me.
Incredible guy,
because of the others, we sort of knew them, but Blaze, I didn't really know. I got to know him, getting to know him, and I just thought he's an absolutely amazing young man. For what he does, the support he gives his mum, family, what they've gone through as a family.
But just on that, he recently lost his nan. They buried her on Friday, so rest in peace, Nana,
rest in peace,
Nana.
While we're on that, special dedication to Nat, who recently passed away. So this is dedicated to you, and also special dedication to Freddie, who also passed away, and it was his birthday yesterday. So he literally passed away. They buried him a few weeks ago, and it was his birthday yesterday. He was literally 30-something years old as well. So special dedication to you guys, man. So big up. And on that note, great segue.
He's trying to be me now.
What do you think of wakes? Asians don't really do wakes. I notice, obviously, the Irish.
The Irish do.
The black community do. But recently, I've been going to a lot of wakes, which is from Asian people. They're all right. Good, like you said, celebration of life. Everyone talks. You see people you haven't seen in years. And it is such a shame, man, because you see so many people at funerals that you haven't seen for ages. You don't talk, and See me, I'm normal. Whether you see me weekly, monthly, or yearly, we'll still get off at the same foot, whereas other people can't. But what my point is there's always one idiot to cause an issue or a problem, and it ruins it for everyone.
Oh yeah, that applies
I've been to a
everyday
wake.
life. But yeah, funerals are weird as well because there's a lot of emotion going around. There's a lot of alcohol.
Yeah, a lot of alcohol.
And there's that nostalgia thing when people come back together, like you haven't seen for a long time. And there's that weird thing that goes on where you almost unconsciously are comparing yourself to everybody around. So we was at again, rest in peace to Marvin. So it's funny you said that. So we was at Marvin's funeral, and I was me and my boy Sir Davos. DK, David, we were walking up to the burial, and we were just talking as you do, and we was looking around, and there was this real kind of, you could have put a line in the middle, and all the people that had kind of been through their shit, but had come out the other side, you'd put on one side of the line, and then you could see all the people that had just let life fuck them, you put them on the other side of the line. And that's what you see. You see these, it's almost like it's microcosm of our lives and communities over a 30-year period. You hear the saying a lot often, people only ever come together for funerals now. And when they do, you got this real melting pot of emotion, alcohol, competitiveness, sadness. People, when you do the wake part, it's happy as a vibe. So my viewpoint on wakes is a bit different because I've done, it's got to be 10 wakes as a DJ. I've had people doing a candy at a wake.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and it's like...
That's what wakes are turning into more like parties now.
But I think that's what they should be.
That's what they should be.
I've got this
right.
thing, when I die, right, I'm not a religious person at all. I don't want a church service, right? At all. Like, no, I don't want no one singing no hymns.
You can be buried or cremated.
I'm coming to that. I'm not even neither. So I want maybe like a kind of, non-religious sort of people say some words. But like, if God willing, I'm around for a long time, but say you're around, I'd want you to speak rather than the pastor or whatever it might be, because religion don't play no part in that. I want the celebration of my death to be a celebration of my life, right? From there, we are jamming. I want people, in my will, I'm leaving booking details. There is a lineup I want at my funeral.
Okay.
Right?
I'm not have a festival.
I'm not playing. It's the last ever Tizz Fest, bruv. Like, and then there's this thing you can do. It's not really kind of gaining popularity. It was in a film or some TV show, but basically what it is you, it was in that thing with Kano actually, but you get your ashes turned into like a tree, and then that gets planted, and then those ashes kind of help that tree grow, and that's you living on through nature. And that's what I've said. I said, that's what I want to happen. I want my tree, I want it in a prominent place, and that's me, bruv. I'm not going to make no secret of it because we're all here, but I've been, as you know, we're not going to say the actual words, but I've been doing something that's kind of helping my mind balance. And I'm starting to it's kind of, my third eye is opening a little bit, and I'm kind of starting to see, I don't think that when you're physically gone from here, you're gone anyway. We've really drifted with this conversation, but I don't think you're really gone when you're gone from here anyway. Certainly your subconscious isn't, and your spirit and soul. But bottom line, do I want people arguing, fighting, all right, people will drink, but arguing, fighting and
they're all going to say Warren was a bloody...
No, listen, say what you like, right? But I live by my rules, mate, and done it my way.
See, the reason why I said it is because I've been to a few wakes, but the last couple I've been to, not only has there been stupid, silly arguments and kicked off...
But actual fights?
Either almost or yes. But there's always one...
Laugh.
But there's always one person... who's either an uncle or a cousin who's always trying to stop all the rubbish from happening and always ends up getting hurt, bruv. It's always the uncle who's stopping. No, stop. Oh, fell over. He broke his leg. Now everyone feels guilty. Everyone's got to go hospital, go and visit the uncle because they're all part of his journey into him falling over and his leg breaking because he's trying to break up two nephews or a cousin and an uncle or an auntie and a sister or something stupid. Bruv, 2 occasions I've been.
Question though.
And the mad uncles always ends up injured.
Do you think you get the same out? Do you think you get the same outcome if there's no alcohol involved?
No.
Even though it's a funeral, if there's no, so if it's a dry funeral, it's not.
I'll tell you why, because alcohol brings something else out in people, and I've seen it. I mean, we did a video shoot a couple of weeks last weekend.
I'm going to talk to you about that.
Big up everyone there. I made sure there was no alcohol there.
Did you?
Yeah, I made sure there was no alcohol. Even though I bought alcohol, I made sure it wasn't needed. The vibe was different. And sometimes you can tell by the people that are there. And people do that. People change, man. You know yourself. When people drink, they turn into a different person.
Look, Now, this is probably time to do it. It's not a therapy session or confession, but obviously, I stopped drinking in September 23. But back in the last year, I started drinking again. And when I say started drinking again, I don't mean getting drunk and, falling over and none of that nonsense. But, couple shots here, couple Henny shots here, couple Henny shots there, blah, 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 blah. And what you really start to realise when you've gone that long without it, you start to realise, like, not just obviously there's the physical effect. So I'm putting weight back on and, like, I'm tired all the time and whatever. But yeah, you see the change in yourself because you've got this whole long period where you've never done it. So, I went back to meetings, mate. I went to one because we've got a friend and I won't call her out on the podcast, but big shout out to you, girl. She's going through it at the moment and she wants to go to a meeting. So I went with her. And I think this kind of links into a lot of what we talk about, but yeah, alcohol is a big, like,
massive
factor. And again, going back to what I was saying about the two sides of the fence when you go to these funerals and stuff, the people that have let life get these alcohol's at the centre of it. You know what I mean? I guarantee you most crackheads started with a beer.
I've been to...
Wait a second, let me say this. Let me just say that again. I guarantee you most crackheads started with a beer.
Yeah, beer, cider.
Let that sink in.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. I've been to a lot of funerals recently, bruv, and they're all under the age of 40.
Why is that, do you think?
Drugs and alcohol.
It was a loaded question.
Drugs and alcohol. The thing, okay, people can say it's not drugs and alcohol, but they were taking drugs and they were drinking alcohol. So if it's not what it killed them, it's definitely contributed towards it. And I mean, people out here, we smoke cigarettes, vapes now. Some people smoke weed. Some people go a little bit further. But, all of these things add up in one thing. The biggest killer is stress, bruv. Stress. And then, do you know the other thing is?
Good segue coming, Sonny.
I got, and like, we can talk about all of these things that are killing people, but do you know what? Another thing is, and this might sound bad, but at least they're all enjoying what they're doing, because do you know what the other thing is? I know people that owe me money.
Oi, if you owe him money, pay him, yeah?
I know people that owe other people money. I know people that have spent hundreds and thousands of pounds on gambling, bruv.
Yeah, gambling's a big thing, yeah.
And I don't know what it is about gambling, but you could spend more money on gambling than any other addiction.
They say, studies actually show, in terms of impulse and the compulsion to do something, the compulsion to gamble is higher than the compulsion for a crackhead to smoke crack.
Bruv, from what I've seen...
Like, honestly, like a crackhead will resist crack before a gambler will resist gambling.
At least the crackhead's getting a buzz out of spending $1,000 on crack.
But you see, but so does the addict. And
yeah,
this is the
they
thing.
are. Yeah,
now,
no, you're right.
There's
your
your point. You've just nailed the point,
yeah?
Because it's not about the substance. So when you go to AA, CA, NA, and also part of the ADHD journey as well, what you understand intrinsically is this. They call it a DOC, drug of choice, right? Your DOC doesn't matter. It could be food, could be women, it can be cleaning, it can be gambling, it can be crack, heroin, meth, anything destructive, right? It can be whatever. It's dopamine. So what happens is, if you understand how dopamine works, it's a pleasure hormone that gets released, and certain people's uptake.
Dopamine is what we've got inside us. Natural.
And certain things will trigger.
Is that a natural substance?
Yeah. But I think my understanding is that dopamine is, you're not supposed to have like lots and lots of dopamine hits, and it's like anything. When you have lots and lots of it, your tolerance to it builds up, and you want more and more and more. Right. The problem that you have now is that you've got a society where we are constantly flooded with dopamine by social media. Yeah. That feeling you get when you get notifications, that's a dopamine hit. Yeah. What I'm saying is we're surrounded by it. The way that we interact with social media. What's the flicker of a screen?
I was just about to say social media is dopamine.
But what's it also, you mentioned it a minute ago, doing that's like what? No different to that.
No,
repetitive actions that our brains are, you see what I'm saying? And I think then when you add in, and this moves into what we're going to talk about, like kind of mainly on the pod for this first episode, but you talk about stress, and yes, people want to release. And we're living in an age where I think we're going to see addiction and that, those type of problems just only escalate.
Yep.
And when you have a society, and we're going to move on to this in a bit more detail a little bit later in the pod, and I know you think I say everything comes back to this, and it simply does. But when you have a society where the wealth inequality is just growing and growing daily, when you have a society where, the cliches, but the rich get rich and the poor get poorer, you have a situation where people are just working to survive, not to do anything, but just to survive, right? Do you watch Black Mirror? No. Go and watch the new episode. Watch Black Mirror.
What's that, on Netflix?
Yeah, watch it, man. It's insane. You'll love it. We'll get onto that another time. But anyway, my point is this. And people are more stressed out, you said the word, than ever. So what do we need? We need some dopamine. Where do we get it? Everywhere. Food, drink, drugs, women, gambling. It's everywhere around us.
All right, you say that. But why is everyone so messed up in the head in 2025 compared to what they used to be?
They're not.
5,
They're
10,
not.
15,
They're
20
not.
years ago.
They're not.
I feel we are at a worse state now because...
In what quantify that? What do you mean, a worse state in what? How? Because that's a very nuanced thing to say.
I think...
Be specific.
Has the world struggled... forget the world. The UK struggled so much in regards to keeping up with your bills.
Right. So, okay.
Where the shopping centres are now getting looted on a daily basis.
Right, so let me explain.
Just to put food on the table.
Let me explain what happened. It's really easy. And I'm going to...
You're going to bring it back down to...
Well, we'll go. Let's get straight into it.
Politics.
No, it's not politics. Like, listen, it's not about politics.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Economics.
Economics, that's
so
what
here
I was
I'm telling
trying to
you.
say,
Now, guys, I can articulate this to a certain point, and I'm very much going to parrot what I've watched, but it's out there. The information's out there. I was at this wedding last night, and I sat down with a girl, right? She went to Princeton. She's from the UK. She went to Princeton, Ivy League uni. And me and her were talking, and we brought Gary Stevenson up and talked about economics and stuff like that. But in really simple terms, and I don't want to call people simple, but in simple terms for simple people to understand, what effectively happened was, during the pandemic, right, you remember we were all furloughed, yeah? We were getting, governments were giving out money. The Americans gave out like something like $1.4 trillion, right? We handed over, as a government, billions of pounds to keep the economy afloat. Because what you have to understand, the economy, when people talk about the economy, they're talking about all of the millions of people spending money. You buy something from the local shop, he takes that money and he pays it. But what kind of happened during the pandemic was they gave all that money away, and then once we started coming out of lockdown and the pandemic had kind of died down, they wanted their money back. And all you've really seen, and again, Gary Stevenson will articulate this in a much better way. Guys, please, if you want to be woke, if you want to see what's actually happening around you, right, get off TikTok for your information, get off of Twitter for your information, go and listen to the Jimmys of the world, Gary's Economics, Owen Jones, even people on the right as well, get a balanced view of things. And understand that it is simply about the wealth inequality is what it's going to get worse before it gets better. But wealth inequality is what is at the heart of it. So you said something the other day. You posted something up about Universal Studios. What did you say? Just tell me exactly what you said.
I said, it's all good where everyone's ranting and raving about Universal Studios coming to Bedford, but who's actually ranting and raving about how bad the crackheads, the alcohol, substance, the homelessness, the people robbing shops just to put food on their table? How about all of that stuff that's going on?
Now here's the problem, and you're right, but
knife crime.
But you're right. But here's the thing, and this is where economics is at the heart of it. The reason that there's no more knife crimes than there's ever been. In fact, statistically, there is slightly less knife crimes, like I think this year than last year or whatever. The reason we think there's more is because we see more. But the other reason we think there's more is because it's not policed. Why is it not policed? One answer.
We ain't got enough police.
Why haven't we got enough police?
Because there's not enough money, clearly.
What's money? Economics. Cool, right? Yeah? You can't get a doctor's appointment. Why can't you get a doctor's appointment?
Yeah, all of this.
No, just answer the question. Why?
An ambulance comes over 2 hours to get to you now.
Because there's no money. So it's the government are broke. The government isn't a business. The government doesn't. How does the government make money?
From people.
They tax you, people and businesses, or they print money. You know what quantitative easing is? No. It's where the government creates a load of money out of nothing, and puts it into the economy. But the problem is as well, and this is where this is a big issue as well. We're not taught this in school. I'll tell you why, by design. But you'll never see a change in the system where these things are taught as a rule, because there's no money in education. Right? You see how it's all coming back to the same thing. But we used to have something called let me get this the right way around. Keynesianism, or Bretton Woods. And Bretton Woods was where the price of currency was linked to gold. So it was physically linked to something. And I think Richard Nixon passed an act which effectively did away with that. So they turned around to all the countries around the world and said, your gold that's in our reserves, like, it ain't linked to money anymore. So all these countries want to take their gold out. So money now is effectively created out of nothing. So if you have a bank, you're a bank. You got $1 million in your safe. If I come into that bank and say, lend me 100 grand, and you say yes, do you take that 100 grand out of the safe and give it to me? You think you would, wouldn't you? And you got 900 left, and then I'm going to pay you that 100,000 back with interest, yeah? That ain't what happens. They will create that 100,000 on the screen, there and then. So it's all a lie.
Yeah, it's all a lie.
It's all a lie. But we're going to get into toxic masculinity and stuff as well. But what you start to see when you kind of watch these videos and you understand it on a deeper level is it is all interlinked. If you've watched Jimmy's videos, right? If you watch Jimmy's videos from start to finish, the overwhelming thing that comes out of it at the end is everything's linked. Everything's linked. How is foreign money in this country today linked to the British Empire in India? Watch the video, you understand it.
So going back to what you said, we've got no money. And coming back to what we said about Bedford, bruv.
But we ain't got no money, but who has got money? Sorry, here's the simple thing. Everybody in the pandemic, right? So post-pandemic, are you 20 grand better off? Of course you're not.
No.
Right? Very few people are. But the wealthy, their wealth increased astronomical levels. And what that creates in the real world is this. A group of people who continue to, so they amass the money. When they've got all the money, what do you do with it? You buy up all the assets. When you buy up all the assets, there's nothing left to do. Well, what's there for us then? So you just become the worker drones.
And that's about to get worse now, because from what I've seen,
you're right, it is.
The houses in Bedford, just for example, due to the Universal Studios coming, every single house, do you know how many houses have been on for sale for the last couple of years?
Yeah,
do you know how quickly the houses are selling now because of course. This Universal Studios is coming to Bedford?
Like, again, and I'm going to probably say the words Jimmy and Gary 25 times on this podcast today, but it's because it's there in front of our eyes.
But isn't it funny how they ain't got no more, and they got no money to sort our town out, but they've got money to put Universal Studios.
Haven't. Who do you think's paying for Universal Studios?
Well,
Universal Studios.
Yeah, but this is all.
But this is the point you're missing. We need that because the economy need the money in the economy.
This has clearly been planned because town centre.
Yeah,
they've had this agenda of rebuilding and this and that in town. New shops, the way they look.
But why is that negative?
No, it's not negative. But obviously, there's been a hidden agenda all the while.
What's hidden?
This Universal Studios thing's happening.
What I'm trying to explain to you, you're painting this Universal Studio thing like it's a bad thing for the town. It's not. Do you understand?
No, I'm not painting it's a bad thing.
Maybe not painting it, but
I'm saying you lot are quick to jump on this, but how come you can't sort out this?
But they can't sort out that, right? Because they don't have the money. So they need things to bring the money in. Do you know how much money that will bring to the local economy? To councils, in taxes and revenue. If you then take that revenue, in theory, they won't, but in theory, that revenue goes towards making the place a better place.
You say that?
In theory, but it's proven if you create attractions around a place, that the economy of that place will boom.
Have you seen the attractions we're talking about? Have you seen what's literally nearby all of these attractions in America? What's near the big...
What?
Universal Studios. Homeless people
but that's everywhere. But that's everywhere. That's not because of Universal Studios.
No, it's not. But the thing is,
nothing to do with it.
It's not far. Everyone's having a good time on roller coaster. But that's 100 yards down. There's people sleeping.
There are empty £50 million houses in Mayfair, and 2.1 miles down the road is a guy picking cigarette butts up off the floor. Again, I see what you're trying to kind of say, but they're not mutually exclusive. You will always, until you fix the economics at the root of it, and you address wealth inequality, you will always have shiny theme parks and broke people, £50 million houses and vagrants. You'll always have that, because the root of it, the absolute fundamental crux of why we are in the situation we are in globally, is the wealth. Western Europe, right? Or sorry, the West is. Capitalism, and Gary calls it great. We're living in what they call late stage capitalism. But if you go to like other parts of the world, parts of Asia, parts of Africa, parts of South America, what you see is a very, very small number of wealthy elites. You'll understand this being Indian. Go to somewhere like Mumbai, where you will see a very, very, very small amount of ultra wealthy elites. And everybody else is poor. And you think that can't happen here, right? It is happening.
Yeah, because we're used to, like we're used to seeing on the adverts, the African children with flies on their face. And
that's not what it's like, no.
Exactly my point.
No,
and that's not what it's really like.
But what it's really like, though, in fact, that's the kind of the let's shock you. That's, disaster situations. But the real world, people in those countries are still living on less.
But the UK is not a third world country.
Let me finish, and I'm going to tell you how we're fucking on our way, bruv. We may
Yeah,
not
we
be.
are on our way.
We're on our way.
Exactly the point I'm trying to make.
And don't use the word third world either, because it's a weird term.
That's what they used to call it.
Yeah, but all third world meant was actually, well, not a lot of people understand this. Third world referred to countries that weren't involved in the Cold War. So on the American side, the West was the first world. The Eastern Bloc communists was the second world, and countries not involved were known as the third world. It got reappropriated to mean poor countries.
Poor countries.
But actually, the majority of the world outside of your English-speaking nations, Russia, Western Europe, like I said, English-speaking nations, Western Europe and Russia, most places have huge wealth inequality gaps that are really visible. Now, you say, oh, yeah, but there's a Universal Studio there and tramps down the road. We see it a bit, but if we don't address wealth inequality, right, you're going to see it more and more. And if you want to see what that looks like, go to them countries. But go to somewhere like South Africa, where there's no middle class. And you might go, well, why do I need the middle class? Well, you have the wealthy, you have the working class, but the working class were always able to aspire to get up to the middle class. You've now got middle class people earning. I know someone earning an £80,000 a year salary. Sounds a lot of money, doesn't it? With 2 kids, a partner, and they don't live a lavish lifestyle by any stretch. And there are times they struggle. Let that sink in. And that's where we're getting to. In the next decade, you will see situations where, once upon a time, 50 grand a year, you'd go, that's good dough. 50 grand a year now.
It's nothing now.
Because the cost of living. So why is the cost of living gone up? Well, because it's to make some shareholder rich. The gas is not any more expensive to get out of the ground. It's not any more expensive to transport. Yeah. The only thing that makes it more expensive is the profiteering of the ultra wealthy. Yep. And when you're ultra wealthy and you're removed from what the real people are dealing with, and then so we don't open our eyes, let's divide us along some lines. You vote that, you look like that, you do that.
That's why they try, it's weird though, bruv, because it's like everything happens. Did this happen back in Thatcher days as well?
Yeah, again, go back.
Like, it's like things are going around in a cycle, man.
They do. And actually, if you go and look at, I think it was something, again, I'm not sure on the terminology, but there was something called Keynesianism, where it effectively says that if you leave the markets alone, they'll correct themselves. So if people are going through rough times, don't worry.
It'll level out.
It levels out, and it was proven to be complete and utter nonsense. And then after the war, so we effectively had 2 wars in the first part of the 20th century, and after the Second World War, we kind of said, all right, we can't do this anymore. And there was something called the post-war consensus, which was a lot more about kind of a fairer society, everybody having an opportunity, a lot of like social housing, and for a long time it worked. It really worked. And then what you kind of saw, if you understand, again, when the oil crisis in the 70s happened, and then we got rid of the gold standard, so you stopped tying money to gold. And then when Thatcher came along, and Reagan at the same time, they introduced something called neoliberalism, which is kind of, again, it's where minimal government, right? Because it's a balance. You can't have too much government because it's too much regulation and it stops the market. But if you have nothing and no regulation, it's a free-for-all. Neoliberalism kind of falls more on the side of free-for-all, each man for themselves, and that's kind of what Thatcherism sort of embodied. And if you kind of look at a snapshot of the 80s, it's very much on one side the yuppies in London and the deregulation of the city. And
what's a yuppie?
Young upwardly mobile. So in the 80s, you had people, guys from Essex driving Porsches earning like 100 grand a year in 1988. You know what I mean? And that happened because the financial market used to be heavily regulated. There was something called the Big Bang in the city where they deregulated the markets, less regulation, more risk taking, but more money. Britain is very much, the city of London is like the most important financial heart of the world, fully corrupt as well. Like, you want to launder your money, run it through the city.
How did we get on this conversation?
Because it all links back, wealth inequality. People will think that what is Universal Studios building a theme park in a run, what is effectively a rundown town. How does that link to economics? But you understand, once you figure it out, it all comes down to that.
Only 2 weeks ago, there was a guy on TikTok, some Asian guy going, yo, I didn't know there was a place called Bedford with Asian Punjabis. Who knew about cussing Bedford?
I had someone actually.
And I bet you that same geezer's going to be coming to Universal Studios.
Tanks. I don't know if you know Tanks. I watch Tanks. Big up Tanks, man. His YouTube channel is brilliant. And he was talking about, briefly touched on Universal Studios in Bedford. He mentioned Bedford. And I was like, be careful. I like you, Tanks. I don't want to have to come for you, bruv. Like, if you start disparaging my town.
Which all of a sudden, listen, I'm scrolling through.
We're putting Bedford on the map, though, don't you?
The Prime Minister is saying Bedford. The MPs are talking about, the whole world is talking about, I'm listening to
but
my
that's
local.
not a bad thing.
Listening to Capital One, Radio 1. They're talking
That's
Bedford,
not a
Bedford.
bro.
You see how we were putting Bedford on the map from time and everyone's, you lot that used to call it Deadford. Remember that, yeah? Remember that. Only Gareth Barber used to always say Bedford isn't shit. And people like us and Gareth Barber always supported Bedford. So all you pum-pums that always used to cuss Bedford, yeah? All of you lot remember how you lot used to cuss Bedford. Anyway, let's get off this. Let's back to, because we haven't seen each other for a little while. We always talk on the phone. You've done so many gigs. You've done so many shows. You've lost your voice clearly after playing your absolute epic show. I just come back from a video shoot for a single called Punga. Big up Mets and Tricks, HMC, Jason Bowes on the production, Wiz on the visuals.
You kept that
single coming out.
Oh, you kept that really pro there. Well done.
Kept it quiet, kept it low, kept it pro, kept it quiet. But as always, I'm the one that always calls the Punga, so we'll see when it comes out. And big up everyone that was involved, and thanks for everyone coming. Big up to my son for coming as well. And you've been smashing it. I see you've upped your DJ game, bruv.
Yeah. Obviously, I've been DJing 7 years, and
yeah, but now you're DJ TZ.
But I want to say something.
DJ TZ.
TZ, brilliant. I channeled my EZ last night. So I just want to quickly touch on something. Remember when we used to do I Told You So radio back in the day?
Yeah.
Remember Dodge?
Yeah.
D-Lo?
Yeah.
I actually say he's the only person from Bedford that raps who really, apart from
You
Dots.
like him. You like him.
Do I like him as a rapper?
Yeah.
I do. I like him as a person.
Yeah,
I like him as a rapper. I mean, I ain't seen him in years, but my personal dealings with him back then, can't speak for now, but I couldn't stand the guy. But he once called me on Twitter a fucking pub DJ. Free the guys. To bring it kind of where we are today, I've been going strong for 7 years. I think talk about money sometimes is crass. And I also think that sometimes you can say a statement and it sound grandiose. But the fact of the matter remains is that in 7 years, my business has generated close to £250,000. So all the rappers and singers and DJs and artists and promoters, I reckon you could count them on one hand, the number that can say over a period of time, they've made £250,000 for music. And that doesn't make me special. I'm just saying it's an achievement, especially when you consider I came from being a pub DJ with an aux lead and a pretty bad cocaine habit and probably 3 stone overweight. That's a real kind of, that the story arc of that, the origin story to the pinnacle is mad. But where it kind of sees us today, I've been doing gig on gigs, hundreds of gigs, but I've been in some really special places. A couple Saturdays ago, big shout to MMA X. Their meta event was at Halo. Shout out to Grant, big up bro. Shout out to Sean Harvey. So I DJ'd that, and that was insane. So I'm there in the middle. You've been in Halo, the 2 lots of stairs. So a fighter was coming down each stairs, playing their entrance music, and then playing the music in between. And I feel that as a DJ, someone said this to me last night. She said, "You're an artist." I said, "Thank you." I said, and that's how I view myself. Because I think as a DJ, you're not rapping and you're not singing. You're playing other people's music, but that doesn't mean you can't tell a story. And
you're the entertainment.
But in a really kind of, and there's that word again, nuanced way, right? Everyone hates a DJ that's always on the mic, true?
Yeah.
So you can't really rely on, and I like to talk, you can't really rely on that in a DJ setting. So if you want to tell a story and entertain, you can do it visually with how you're moving, but you really do it with your music choice, your selection. I couldn't mix for 2 years. Remember famously at Roxy's gig at Esquires, and you went, you need to work on your mixing? Do you remember that? Remember you said that to me? Couldn't mix save my life. My transition was an air
I actually
horn.
said you need to get lessons.
You did. We've had that conversation. But again, the point I'm making within that is the first thing I learned, I knew music up to a certain point. And I guess I've always intrinsically understood people. So I always had the ability to kind of walk in a room and capture that room. I'm good at grabbing the energy in a room and harnessing it, whether that's good or bad. So because I learned those two things first, and mixing came a long time after, when I got to the point of mixing, it just allowed me to continue to tell that story. So when I was doing the MMA thing, for example, there was a great moment. So a guy's come down, he's given all the large, yeah? And in my mind, I'm thinking, I know what I'm going to play in between. I know what I'm going to drop. I know what I'm going to... So he's giving it all the large and he's got in the ring, cleaned out in like seconds. So what song do you think I played?
Mama Said Knock You Out.
Nearly. I did play that at one point, but that did get played. No. Kendrick Lamar, Humble. But I played the start of it. It goes, nobody pray for me. Even not there for me. And then I dropped the hot cue straight onto sit down, be humble. And the whole crowd are going, sit down, be humble. Now I felt for the guy, right? But he took the choice to come down the stairs and give it all the large and get sparked out. And I felt that my job in that, and I take it seriously, my job in that setting is to tell that story.
Yeah, but that's because we are creatives. This, right now, we are entertaining you, man. Sitting here, whether you like us or not, you're watching us. You either hate us or you love us, or you're just watching us to be nosy fuckers. We are entertaining you. End of story. There's one thing I can say about you, bruv. Ever since I've known you. Whatever you try, you put your all into it.
And 9 times out of 10 succeed.
And you put your... Right, don't blow your trumpet. Let me speak. So whenever I know you to do something, it could be... out of the 100 jobs that I've known you to have as well, it's the best thing. It's the best. You're very passionate at what you do, like me. But anything that like this that you are into and you get into, you absolutely smash, bruv. So I wouldn't be surprised if you were hitting Dubai, if you were getting called for football matches, if you sooner or later, because I know you put yourself in the right places and you're smart. But the thing is, there's people out here that have been doing this grind for so many years. And you lot keep playing in your clubs, your pubs and whatever else. And look at this guy. He's only been playing for a few years. My man's, I'm not like bigging him up just because he's my friend, but there's a way to do things. And even down to music, releasing, learn your game. And some people, I think what it is, they get content with what they do. They got a residency at a club or a pub and that's it. That's their thing. Doing a little thing on the side or getting a couple... Getting a couple of bookings on the side, but the thing is, it depends on you, how much you, and how far you want to take your art.
So listen,
how far you want. But what the point I'm trying to take is, and everybody can't be an Andy Cole. You need a Dwight York. Right. The thing is,
or more important, you need a Dennis Irwin.
Yeah. But then the thing is, they all needed Alex Ferguson. So you all need somebody for something. And this is what I learned. We've done this video shoot again. I don't want to keep talking about it because I want it to come out, and then I want to talk about it. We've done this video shoot, and then. It's about having a team, and a team you can trust, believe in, and everyone sticking together. And sometimes it doesn't always work like that. But the problem is you've smashed it. And what you have to do, brother, is just keep doing what you're doing. And I know, and I'm going to speak from the heart here, we get hate all the time. He's smashed it on TikTok over the last few days of coming live and doing this DJ AG kind of thing. But do you know what people say? Oh, he's a copy. He's trying to copy. But what people don't realise is everything is some sort of, if not a copy, bruv, remember the time, for example, I wrote a bar. Yeah. It's a lot. And then all of a sudden, other people, it's my bar. It's my bar. Or certain other people bought it to other people's stead. But guess what? When I used to write my bars, I used to date and time my fucking bars. So I wrote them bars years ago. But guess who I was inspired by? Some other grime artist who wrote It's a Lot from back in the day. And by the way, while we're on this subject, big up to everyone that does a podcast in Bedford, out of Bedford, all over the world. We are not in any competition with anybody.
Don't speak for me.
We are, I am not in competition. I am not in competition with anybody. I want to big everyone up. I have always been a team player and I've always brought people together. That is one thing that I've always done. And maybe it's not a good trait of mine, which I'm realising now in my big blood clot 40s. I'm realising sometimes being the nice, everyone together ain't always going to work.
Look, whilst I appreciate fully your diplomacy around it, and I get it, you live in the town and all that, but bro, I'm speaking freely on this and I don't care. saying, I'm not dropping the topic. What I'm trying to say is, right, and you could drop the names or whatever out and we'll talk about. What I'm trying to say in that situation is, bro, like, we're trying to do something positive, and the small town mentality.
Yeah, let's go there.
Will never, but that's a them. The point is, it's a them problem.
Yeah,
it's that, like, we did nothing but show support. Yeah, jumped on the lives with the man to show support, and it was almost like we didn't do nothing. We didn't say no bad words. We didn't allude to anything, and it was just attack mode, straight into attacking us. And I think it just says more about you than it ever says about us.
Yeah,
like, I want to celebrate your wins. I don't. You winning doesn't automatically mean I lose.
No, brother, this is, get used to it. Us winning, or us even being, somebody could have £3 million in their bank, the biggest car, the biggest house, whatever, and all we've done is got one step up the ladder, and they will fucking hate on us just because of it.
Wait till they see who we've got lined up, then, bro.
But this is part of it. But yeah, that conversation there.
Yeah, all right.
We could take some bits out of it.
We'll
but
take some bits out of it.
I don't really want that conversation.
We'll take some bits out.
Because as you're aware, brother, we. Like
but I ain't letting it go. Because you know what I'm like. We're different personalities.
I'm not a hero.
And I'm not trying. I'm not expecting you to. I'm not. Listen, you don't have to worry about me. You don't have to worry about.
I'm not worried about anyone. I'm worried about myself.
But you don't need to worry.
And I'm not. And I'll tell you what I'm worried about.
In what way?
Because I'm not worried. Because I'm worried about what I am capable of doing, Warren.
Yeah, but that's you. But you're responsible for your own actions.
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. And we're changed people. We're in our fucking 40s now, bruv.
Yes. I haven't even got time to think about. I'm not talking about rolling up and let's have a straight now. What I'm saying is,
I'm not talking about straightness either.
No, neither. I'm not. What I'm saying is we are big grown men now, right? We're doing something positive, and if that triggers you to the point where you want to behave the way you want to behave, then we are going to deal with it in a big man setting. That's all I'm saying. Now, to me, that involves dialogue, and if you're not capable of that dialogue, then that's on you. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and censor and silence myself because it upsets your fucking sensibility, not yours, their sensibilities, because they don't know how to act.
What you got to remember is one thing, yeah? This isn't about individual people. Me and you...
No, but that situation to me was about individual people.
But me and you get so much hate from everybody because of... because of whatever you've done, do, or your characteristics
I do.
and your personality. And I do a little bit just for being your friend. Look at his face.
Yeah, but that goes both ways.
But it goes both ways.
A lot of my intellectual friends are like, for fuck's sake, can you explain it to him again? I haven't really got intellectual friends, I'm joking.
But what I'm trying to get to you is,
I'm playing
you see,
with you.
this podcast here, this isn't to fucking call out anyone.
I'm not trying to say
I'm
to
just
call out anyone.
overactive.
But I'm just saying,
we're going to time we don't
but as a big man, as a big grown man these days, yeah, if there's something, we will address it. I will address it. I got a platform, so I will address it.
Guess what? Address it to them directly, not on our platform.
Bruv, in the modern world, I have more chance of look at the camera. I have more chance of addressing you directly down a lens than I ever have of seeing you in real life.
Because that's how
Say no more.
And people know this. I've had a problem recently because I didn't indirect things. I just go direct, and then people saying you shouldn't do that because you put a spanner in the works. Roll credits.
One second.
Spanner in the Works podcast.
Right, one sec.
Well, I don't know how that first season fucking series went, mate.
No, we're not there. We ain't finished yet. We're gonna wrap. How long we done?
All right, we've got 10 minutes.
Wicked. So listen, before we do, have you watched? We'll get into adolescence just before we wrap up real quick. But while we were talking about that thing, I just want to quickly address something. And I'm not going to say no names. I'm not even going to tell you the family relationship. But you were talking to me about something about. Obviously, this thing's been going crazy on TikTok, right? And I've been getting love from places I never even knew existed. And then that led us to the conversation that it's the people furthest away from you that will support you before the people next to you. And obviously, a lot of people don't know my personal and family situation, whatever, but I got a family member, right? Probably as close as you can get. And that family member took out, do you know what a non-molestation order is?
So you have to stop molesting them.
I knew the minute I said that, that's what you would say. Ladies and gentlemen, 2D Sonny.
No, it means someone's harassing someone?
Yeah, so she basically took a non-molestation order out against me, right? Because I'd seen this person at Windsor. We've had some ongoing family beef. You know what family beefs are like. But me, I've just been living... Anyway, let me tell you, this is jokes. Anyway, so I've been living my life. So she gets this order out against me, writes this big statement out against me and whatnot. And like, it's mad when you read stuff about yourself and you're like, you know when it's lies. But the worst thing is when you can't do nothing about it as well. So me, I made the mistake. I responded to her immediately. You've breached it, blah, blah, blah. We want to talk to you. So I go to the police station. I talk to them, whatever. Nothing happens, you know, I'm articulate. I can pitch the situation. I explained it. And then I move on. And then on Friday, I hadn't really thought about her much. Live your life. You do you. I'll do me. All right? Yes, I'm antagonistic. Yes, I sometimes like to get a rise out of people. Yes, it's how I sometimes get my dopamine fixes. But I hadn't given her no mind. And obviously TikTok had started going mad on Wednesday and Thursday. So you get to Friday morning and TikTok's just crazy. So I'm flicking through and I see this family member and we don't follow each other. But curiosity gets the better of you. So I open the profile. The first video, they must have been going through some weight loss program or something, right? Bear in mind, I ain't spoke to this person in well over a year. I purely backed off because of the whole situation with, you know, I don't want it. I've had a criminal record twice. All my convictions are spent. I've got no driving bans left. I'm not going to I'm not going to fix that twice to then ruin it over something petty, right? So anyway, my weight loss journey has been incredible. A year ago, someone called me fat, and fat shaming is not good whether you're male or female. So you got that right? But then I see him on his live bouncing around with his bingo wings. I need to work on his arms, man. My next guest can definitely give me some hints on how to work on my arms. But she was like, your bingo wings flapping around on the live. And I just went, I'm living rent-free in your head. I've won. Your whole thing is about your journey of self-improvement, yet what's at the heart of your journey of self-improvement is me. So I just wanted to say, and that's it, that was the story, but I just wanted to say my number one fan, I love you. By the way, this family member of mine, let's get this all into context and they're not cutting this out, just so you can understand how deep family can go against you versus the people that, you know, you weren't born next to. You know, you're my friend through choice, yeah? You would never fuck my girlfriend, would you? No, tell me, would you? Honestly, would you?
I personally wouldn't. You know,
Obvious.
at school, we used to have this rule that you do not touch next man, even if he fancies her.
Yeah.
You don't go there.
Yeah.
But that don't.
Yeah.
That rules
And you
loyalty.
and you
is
definitely
gone.
wouldn't fuck your sibling's partner, would you?
What?
You wouldn't.
What? It's like your sister-in-law.
So your brother's got. Say you got a brother who's got a wife. Would you fuck your brother's wife?
No fucking way, bro.
You
That's
wouldn't, would you?
Hollyoak shit,
You wouldn't, would you?
EastEnders.
So this person who we're talking about, just to give you the context of what we're talking about, we're going there. Like this person, like years ago
Welcome
now,
to the pod, bro.
years ago, this person fucked my partner. But then, but apparently I'm the bad guy. You get what I'm saying? And my point that I'm making in all of this, love you, number one fan. The point I'm making in all of this, right, is that I think this is the point I'm making is that
So you got similar taste.
yeah,
women.
arguably. No, she just wants everything I have. And that's the point. It's jealousy. Because if it weren't about jealousy, you wouldn't covet the things I have. If it wasn't about jealousy, your own journey of self-improvement wouldn't have to be framed as me failing somehow. Does that make sense?
Bruv.
Not just family and your closest
Yeah,
one.
but families they're just not what they used to be, innit, bruv?
Yeah, that's another story altogether. But it also, the root of it is in economics.
There we go.
I'm not lying, brother. The root of the breakdown in family is in economics.
Well, my mum, that wasn't part of economics. My mum, that wasn't part of economics. Right, we're going to cut that. Yeah. Shall we go everywhere then?
Listen.
Do you know what I mean?
I can roll.
Jen speaking what? The fuck? These
Bro.
men have got PTSD.
We have
They
got
need to shrink, not a fucking podcast.
We have got PTSD because I've got a similar one. So my stepdad, my mum and stepdad, my mum had a boyfriend that used to come round, right? I'm like 9, and they would all get drunk together, and then my dad would pass out.
And then she'd fuck his mate.
So she could fuck his mate.
So I'm saying,
It weren't even a secret. And then she had a kid from him like years later. And the thing is, you know who it is. I'm not going to say it, but so now.
And you got a brother.
Yeah, but I've got a brother, the same brother that's now trolling me on TikTok, right? Big up Victor.
No, I was talking about the other brother that don't know he's your brother.
No, he's not my brother. But a guy I was at school with was in my class. Me and him have a brother.
I was talking about the other brother.
What other brother?
Forget it.
I've got loads of brothers, bro. Bruv. But none of them are brothers. That's the mad thing. Anyway, we're not taking none of that out. So you get an insight into
No, I'll tell you what we do. We get them to bleep the certain bits out. That's it. Like when I say...
my dad fucked my mum's cousin.
But this is what I'm saying. My brother and sister don't know none of this shit. All of this shit that I've gone through, like earlier on when I said to you, Warren, what did you... I rang you and I said to you, the first thing I'm going to do is find a cafe in Milton Keynes to get something to eat.
Yeah.
And you said to me, for fuck's
All
sake...
you have to do is eat.
All you have to do is eat. And what did I say to you, bruv? What did I say to you?
You said because when you was younger, there was never no food.
So
here, okay.
bruv, and some people won't fucking understand that.
And we'll wrap this bit up here. I'm going to ask this question as my own question as well. But and I guarantee as well that the relationships that you've had over the years are massively shaped by the relationship you saw your parents having.
Exactly.
My inability to
Exactly
I get to a point in a relationship like with someone where I'm solid and everything should be great. I have a tendency to unconsciously and subconsciously fuck that up. Why? Because of my formative years were spent watching my parents be dysfunctional. And the man we're going to interview for our next episode, I heard him say, and people said various things, but he was the first one that ever brought it to my attention. And I think I heard him say something, and I'm paraphrasing, but I'm trying to leave generational wealth and not generational trauma.
Yeah. Yep.
And all we're left with is generational trauma. Me literally sitting here now telling you the story of how my family member fucked my girlfriend and my parents were fucking alcoholic degenerates is generational trauma.
Yep.
And I think where we have a mission and a purpose in life is to not pass that down.
Yep.
We were talking about, someone was talking to me the other day about smacking kids. Like, I don't care what my kids do. I would never put my hands on my children. Never. Because those beatings we got as kids stay with me. Do you know what I mean? And I never want my kids to, I want my kids to go through shit, and because that's how you build and you grow, but I never want them to go through the shit that I went through. But anyway, on that lovely note, and speaking quickly, have you watched
We've
that?
got a lot of beeping in this episode, editor.
No, we're not. It's my YouTube channel. I'm not getting striked for
No,
anything.
I want certain things beeping, yeah?
My channel!
Fuck off. And he said, stop swearing, God's monetization. He said, you won't get it.
We'll get there.
The guy said,
We'll get there.
The podcast man.
We're fine. We'll beep it.
Just letting you know.
Relax. Before we wrap up, you watch Adolescence?
Yeah. About the little kid who
Crazy,
got bullied by a girl and ended up stabbing
You work in schools. Do you see much of that? Like toxic masculinity in school, kids promoting tape?
What I see a lot recently is girls fighting boys. When we were kids, girls used to fight girls and boys used to fight boys. Now, girls and boys are fighting each other.
I was the
like
only
one-on-ones.
I got beat up by two girls when I was a kid.
Like just straight one. I got whipped in the face by a rope by a girl.
Do you remember Carlene Williams?
No.
Yeah, Pop's cousin, man. Big up Carlene, big up Richard and all the gang, man. She beat me in the summer holidays in front of everyone.
This was supposed to be a good, quick first introduction to season 2, episode 1. It's gone a bit everywhere because we're new surroundings. Big up the new surroundings that we're at. Big up our Mac Studios, Limelight TV, JG Visuals.
And this season is going to be insane, so strap in for the ride. Quick call to action before we wrap up. You can follow us, Spanner in the Works Pod on TikTok.
SITW podcast.
No, I've changed it. Spanner in the Works Pod on TikTok. At the Sound Temple DJ. SITW podcast on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
My one's private. Yeah, follow my other one, Sonny Black, SONNY BLK. But my other one,
That's the one I was talking about.
Yeah, my other one's private. I've got like 400 people requesting to follow me, but I'm not accepting them.
First episode, Spanner in the Works podcast.
Just with a bulletproof vest.
Season 2. Oh, where's Punga dropping, by the way?
Punga, I don't know. I got to chat to the boys because I've put a fucking Punga in. I caused the Punga anyway.
Caused the Punga, but
Spanner in the Works.
Yeah, so I got to chat to the boys, see what they say. We don't rap it or we don't play.
Subscribe, share, hate, love, tell your mama,
And go fuck yourself.
and slap your grandma.
Go hard till it hurts. How many man do you know who can drop 1 million flows on a verse?